Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to our Reflections podcast. And, one of the things I do as a pastor is I do funerals a lot. And many times people will ask me, like, hey, pastor, what happens when we die? And I will often think in my head, like, something like, I don't say it out loud, but I will think to myself, you know what? I don't really know. I've never done it before, and come back. But I do offer them something else. There's some great thoughts about death and what happens when we die in the scriptures. They're not altogether super clear, but one of my favorite ones that I sort of stumbled upon a while ago that I love is from the Book of Ecclesiastes. Now, Ecclesiastes is this ancient book of like wisdom, but it's kind of the wisdom that comes later on in life when you've seen some stuff, when you know that life doesn't always work out how it's supposed to work out, and sometimes you do all the right things and the bottom still falls out. Sometimes you raise your kids in the ways that you thought were best, but the kid still kind of becomes a knucklehead. And so Ecclesiastes has this deep, profound wisdom that is kind of the end of end of an age wisdom who's seen all these wonderful things. And so anyway, in Ecclesiastes 12, there's this moment where he says sort of simply, hey, so at the end here of this incredibly profound book, I want to tell you, hey, remember your Creator. And this is Ecclesiastes 12. And remember, in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come. And then he goes on down in verse 7. I love this. He says, actually in verse 6, he says, Remember him, your Creator, before the silver cord is severed and the golden bowl is broken. And I learned that, in these ancient funeral rites, they would smash these bowls during the funeral. And so I was reading this chapter with some young guys, some young men, and I go, listen, you guys, if I die before you guys, I want you to come to my funeral. And these are young dudes, right? They have that young man energy. Come to my funeral with some bowls, just smash them on my casket and walk out. And don't say a word, just walk in and smash these bowls and then just walk out. I love it. So they told me they would. So it says, before the pitcher is shattered at the spring and the wheel broken at the well. And then he says this, and before the dust returns to the ground that it came from, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. And then he goes on to say that life is vapor, it's here and then gone. But I love it. And now, this is obviously before Jesus, way before Jesus. And so this idea of resurrection hasn't really even become rooted in the Jewish psyche yet. But there's a sense that, hey, he believed when you die, the writer of Ecclesiastes thought that when you died, that your body would go into the ground, which is often what we do with things that die. We plant them in the ground. And the spirit or the breath or the wind, the soul, goes back to God from where it came. And now this is really cool because this is actually an undoing of the creation story. In the creation, God, of course, takes the dirt, the ground, and he breathes his spirit, his breath, his wind into the dirt, and it becomes alive. It becomes a human. And so in Ecclesiastes, you have the reversal of that, where when you die, those things become separated once again, and the body goes back into the dirt from where it came, and the spirit, the soul, the wind, and the breath, which is the last thing to leave the body, the breath, the last thing you'll ever do before you die is to breathe out. So there's this breath that goes back to God, the soul, the spirit, the breath goes back to God from which it came. And I love that. It's this idea that, look, the body goes into the ground, and this thing that enlivened you goes to be with God. And what that looks like, I have no idea. I don't know. Paul writes later on, of course, this is many years later. Paul, who's certainly influenced by Greek thinking, says that to be absent from the body or to be away from the body is to be present with the Lord. So there's some part of us, like the author of Ecclesiastes is saying, there's some part of us that goes to be with God, and there's an interaction there or something like that. And then, of course, they believed, the early Christians, that the body would go into the ground and then wait for the resurrection that would happen to all of us at one time. And it happened in Jesus which was like a foretaste or a hint of what was to come for all of us. But that we wait for the resurrection in this time of restful peace. And so there you go. I don't know what happens when we die exactly, but I think it's something like that when we die, our breath, our spirit, our soul, the wind in us goes back to God from where it came, and the body goes into the ground from where it came, and we wait for the resurrection that Jesus promises. So there you go. That's the hope. All right. Love you guys. Peace.
Hey, if you enjoy this show, I'd love to have you share it with some friends. And don't forget, you are always welcome to join us in person at Central in Elk River at 8:30, which is our liturgical gathering, or at 10 o'clock, our modern gathering. Or you can check us out online at clcelkriver.org. Peace.